man called home to his wife and said, "Honey, I have been asked to go fishing up in Canada with my boss and several of his friends. We'll be gone for a week. This is a good opportunity for me to get that promotion I've been wanting. So could you please pack enough clothes for a week and set out my rod and fishing box? I'm coming from the office and I will swing by the house to pick my things up. Oh, please pack my new blue silk pajamas." The wife thinks this sounds a bit fishy, but being the good wife she is, did exactly what her husband asked. The following weekend, he came home a little tired, but otherwise looking good. The wife welcomed him home and asked if he caught many fish. He said, "Yes, lots of salmon, some bluegill, and a few swordfish. But why didn't you pack my new blue silk pajamas like I asked you to do?" The wife replied, "I did. They're in your fishing box."
Oh!
A couple take in an 18-year-old girl as a lodger. She asked if she could have a bath, but the woman of the house told her they didn't have a bath, but if she wanted to, she could use a tin bath in front of the fire. "Monday's the best night when my husband goes out to darts," she said. The girl agreed to have a bath the following Monday. After her husband had gone to the pub for his darts match, the woman filled the bath and watched the girl get undressed. She was surprised to see that the lass didn't have any pubic hair. She mentioned this to her husband when he came home. He didn't believe her, so she said, "Next Monday, don't go to darts. I'll leave a gap in the curtain so you can see for yourself." So the following Monday, while the girl again got undressed, the wife asked, "Do you shave?" "No," replied the girl. "I've just never grown any hairs down there." "Do you have hair?" "Oh, yes," said the woman. And she showed the girl that indeed she was far from hairless. When the girl went to bed, the husband came in and the wife asked, "Did you see it?" "Yes," he said. "But why the hell did you have to show her yours?" "Why not?" she said. "You've seen it before." "I know," he said. But the darts team hadn't.
Oh my God, that's disgusting!
Woman awakes in the middle of the night to find her husband not in bed, so she puts on her robe and goes downstairs to look for him. She finds him sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of hot cocoa in front of him. He appears to be in deep thought, just staring at the wall. She watches as he wipes away a tear from his eye. "What's the matter, dear?" she whispers as she steps into the room. "Why are you down here at this time of night?" The husband looks up from his drink. "It's the 20th anniversary of the day we met." She can't believe he has remembered and starts to tear up. The husband continues, "Do you remember 20 years ago when we started dating? I was 18 and you were only 15, he said solemnly. Once again, the wife is touched to tears, thinking that her husband is so caring and sensitive. "Yes, I do," she replies. The husband pauses. The words were not coming easily. "Do you remember when your father caught us in the back seat of my car?" "Yes, I remember," said the wife, lowering herself into a chair beside him. The husband continued, "Do you remember when he shoved the shotgun in my face and said, 'Either you marry my daughter, or I will make sure you spend the next 20 years in prison'?" "I remember that too," she replied softly. He sighed as he wiped another tear away from his cheek and said, "I would have gotten out today." Married couple were driving down the road and talking. The wife said to her husband, "Honey, if I were to die, would you get remarried?" The husband thought for a moment and then said, "Well, yes, I think I would." The wife wasn't too happy about this. She spent some time in quiet thought. Then after a while she said, "Honey, if I were to die and you were to get remarried, would you give your new wife my jewelry?" "Well, honey, I guess I would." The wife wasn't too happy about this either. She spent a little more time in thought while they continued their drive and then said, "Honey, if I were to die and you were to get remarried, would you give your new wife my handbags?" The husband paused for a moment and then said, "Well, sure, I think I would." The wife was again a little dismayed with this and spent a little more time in thought. Then she said to her husband, "Honey, if I were to die and you were to get married again, would you give your new wife my golf clubs?" He spent a few seconds thinking and replied, "No, she's left-handed."
Oh my God!
A man bought a new Mercedes to celebrate his wife leaving him and was out on the interstate for a nice evening drive. The top was down, the breeze was blowing through what was left of his hair, and he decided to open her up. As the needle jumped up to 80 miles per hour, he suddenly saw flashing red and blue lights behind him. There's no way they can catch a Mercedes, he thought to himself, and opened her up further. The needle hit 90, 100. Then the reality of the situation hit him. What am I doing? He thought, and pulled over. The cop came up to him, took his license without a word, and examined it and the car. It's been a long, hard day. This is the end of my shift, and it's Friday the 13th. I don't feel like more paperwork. I don't need the frustration or the overtime. So if you can give me a really good excuse for your driving that I haven't heard before, you can go. The guy thinks about it for a second and says, "Last week my nagging wife ran off with a cop. I was afraid you were trying to give her back. Have a nice weekend," said the officer.
Oh my god! That's terrible!
Man refuses an opportunity to be romantic with his wife. What happens next is genius. A married couple in their early 60s was celebrating their 35th wedding anniversary in a quiet, romantic little restaurant. Suddenly, a tiny yet beautiful fairy appeared on their table saying, "For being such an exemplary married couple and for being loving to each other for all this time, I will grant you each a wish." "Oh, I want to travel around the world with my darling husband," says the wife. The fairy waved her magic wand and poof! 2 tickets for the Queen Mary II appeared in her hands. The husband thought for a moment. "Well, this is all very romantic, but an opportunity like this will never come again. I'm sorry, my love, but my wish is to have a wife 30 years younger than me." The wife and the fairy were deeply disappointed, but a wish is a wish. So the fairy waved her magic wand and poof! The husband became 92 years old. The moral of this story: men who are ungrateful bastards should remember fairies are female. I was 13. I hoped that one day I would have a girlfriend with big tits. When I was 16, I got a girlfriend with big tits, but there was no passion. So I decided I needed a passionate girl with zest for life. In college, I dated a passionate girl, but she was too emotional. Everything was an emergency. She was a drama queen and cried all the time. So I decided I needed a girl with stability. When I was 25, I found a very stable girl, but she was boring. She was totally predictable and never got excited about anything. Life became so dull that I decided I needed a girl with some excitement. When I was 28, I found an exciting girl, but I couldn't keep up with her. She rushed from one thing to another, never settling on anything. She did mad, impetuous things and made me miserable as often as happy. She was great fun initially and very energetic, but directionless. So I decided to find a girl with some real ambition. When I turned 30, I found a smart, ambitious girl with her feet planted firmly on the ground, so I married her. She was so ambitious that she divorced me and took everything I owned. I am older and wiser now, and I am looking for a girl with big tits.
Dave, Carl, and Carl's wife, Sarah, were playing cards on Thursday morning. Dave's card fell under the table, and when he went down to get it, he saw that Sarah was not wearing underwear. Dave got back up and went to the kitchen to get some refreshment. Sarah followed him into the kitchen and asked, "Did you like what you saw under there?" Shocked by her boldness, Dave hesitantly replied positively. Sarah then said, "You can have it, but it costs $500. Dave eagerly agreed to pay. Sarah then said, "Come to my place sometime after 2 p.m. on Friday. Carl will be golfing from 2 to 6. On the next day, Dave reached Carl and Sarah's house at 3 p.m. He paid Sarah the $500 and they did the deed. At 6 p.m., Carl returned home. His first words to Sarah were, "Did Dave come here this afternoon?" Shocked, Sarah replied, "Yes, he stayed for a few minutes." Carl then asked, "So did he give you $500 then?" Gulping, Sarah nervously said, "Yeah." Then Carl said, "Great. He came by the golf club and borrowed $500 from me and said he would pay you back on his way home."